Hi everyone, this is Pleiadian Star Healer, and welcome to this week's Pleiadian Starcast. So this week is going to be from December 20th to January 3rd. I'm not doing next week. I think I need a little break. I'm going to take 1 week off from recording the Starcast. So this one's going to go from December 20th to January 3rd. So this week I'm using the messages from your guides deck and my numerology deck. So for those who are new, I made my own spread for this. So I go over the main energy of the week, the opposing energy, the underlying lesson or purpose, the decision or what you can do, and the outcome if you put all the advice that's given into action. So I'm going to cover the 2 weeks. I was thinking about what to do, like what kind of Starcast to do, but I think I'm going to go with the Saturn, big event that's supposed to be happening on the 21st. So we're going to see what these 2 weeks and what could be coming in for the new year. Since I'm going to be posting on January 3rd, we're going to be entering 2021. Okay, so the main energy I'm going to do with the numerology. So let's see, what is the main energy that we're going to be expecting with Saturn and then the upcoming new year? I believe Saturn is going into Aquarius. So let's see, because I do feel like the energies got chaotic again. I feel like everything was okay, like it died down for a little, and then it just went, wait a second, you people are too calm. So let me go and fuck shit up again, So let's see, what can we expect with Saturn going into Aquarius? So let's see what the energy looks like for these 2 weeks, stepping into 2021. And we have, look at that, Saturn. We have karmic completion. So here we go, because Saturn is about karma. So I do feel like the chaos that's happening now is, Saturn, like it's just getting its few kicks in, before it starts really transitioning into Aquarius. I feel like it's just getting its last few kicks. So you may do find like karmic situations might come up, perhaps like karmic relationships and karmic situations, things, the contracts that we have from the past. So they could be uprising again, and that could be contributing to the chaos that you may be feeling in your relationships or just within. I feel like there could be a lot of conflict of energy within, because just everything's getting stirred up, because I feel like when the energy had calmed down a bit, we have this habit to get comfortable again. We start to just say, okay, we just sit back, we stop with the movement. And when I feel like when Saturn sees that we're comfortable, it goes, excuse me? No, so I do feel like, and especially that now that it's leaving, it's like we're gotta set the fire, basically under your ass to make you like get with it, and for some of you, I feel like whatever bullshit you were dealing with in the beginning, everything is coming to its completion, or it's coming. So you might feel like everything is boiling up, like they say, it usually gets worse before it gets better. Okay, so let's see what the opposing energy is. I feel like I have to go with the numerology still. So let's see. So what is the opposing energy to this Saturn transition that's going in to Aquarius? So what is opposing us at this time with the karmic completion? And we have, okay, well, it says spiritual career. So I feel like for most of you, those who are healers, Reiki and all that, anything in the spirituality, I feel like coming into the new year, this will be the time for you to really step into your power. No more self-doubt, no more like, can I, should I? It's just like, do it, because Saturn is still going to be like making things, like basically making the way for you to step into your power. And I feel like it's the time, and especially it's supposed to be a time where a new era, as they say, or a big change, like basically like leaving all that karmic crap behind, really stepping in. I do feel like, even though it says career here, but I'm just going to stick with the spiritual, because I do feel like the karmic stuff that's happening, the triggering, all that mess, it could be messing with your spirituality. You could be feeling disconnected. It could be doubting, your self-doubt, especially if you're in the spiritual career or you want to elevate. There may be questions like, am I doing what my spiritual purpose is? You know, am I really fulfilling that soul purpose of mine, especially in the spiritual, you know, sense? So, you know, perhaps you're a tarot reader, but then you go like, maybe something else is calling you, like shamanism or, you know, Reiki, or, you know, something else is pulling you in the opposite direction. And I do feel like the karmic stuff that's happening is sort of like just crashing everything down for you to, and in some way guiding you in that direction, you know, because usually I feel like all this karmic upheaval happens because it's the universe trying to get our attention, because we're not listening. And when we don't listen, you know, it does, like they say, like with children, you know, negative attention is better than no attention. So I do feel like Saturn has that thing where it's like, it be trying to tell you certain things, and if you ignore it, then it just does something in an unfavorable way where it really does get your attention, and then you're like, oh, you know. But unfortunately, we always wait till something, you know, chaotic happens, something drastic happens for us to take that step forward, you know, because usually it sort of forces us into it, because usually we're like either waiting for the right time, or we're afraid or uncertain, and, you know, the universe just gets sick of us, and it goes like, this person is not listening, you know. And so it just does crazy stuff for you to step out of that way. I'm sorry, New York City for you. So, you know, I do feel like it just waits for us to get like that, you know, it just pushes us into that, you know. I'm just gonna wait until so I do feel like that's what happens, you know. It keeps us in that kind of like, why is this person listening? I need to really like push this person out of their comfort zone, you know. And so you don't listen with little synchronicities. If you watched my last video, I talked about embracing the synchronicities. It says like, if you don't embrace it and you keep ignoring it, especially with Saturn goes like, oh hell no, you know, this person's not listening, I'm just gonna blow shit up. And it could get out of control. So it could, like, the opposing energy here could make you feel like, am I fulfilling my life purpose? Am I fulfilling my spiritual purpose, career, etc.? You know. Okay, so let us see what is the underlying lesson. So let's see, what is the underlying lesson here? So what is the underlying lesson to all this karmic energy that's happening here? And we have, okay, well, we have self-love. Okay, so there are situations right now, karmic stuff that's coming up that could be messing with your feelings of self-love, worthiness. So definitely the lesson is still being able to hold on to that, you know, to really, yeah, I feel like a lot of the karmic stuff that happens is like a test, you know, like, did you really learn what you've acquired at this point? Are you going to put into practice? Because it's not just good of knowing the stuff, because you can know a lot of stuff, you can read a lot of things and whatever, fill your mind with so much stuff, but if you're not putting it into action when the time comes, it almost is like useless information, you know. So I do feel like when the karmic stuff starts coming, it really is asking you to put into practice what you've been building on, you know, practicing on. So the lesson here definitely is for self-love. So I feel like these next 2 weeks are really going to be triggering that, you know, feelings of unworthiness, just loving yourself, putting boundaries, you know, understanding, you know, what's your stuff and other people's projections and what their stuff is. I feel like I need to pull now from the messages of the guides. So like, what is the underlying lesson here in regards to self-love? I'm just going to stick with that energy first. What karmic and self-love. So what is under that lesson? Let's see. We have, okay, you see, know your truth. I'm sorry, know your truth. So definitely, like, this is basically knowing yourself in your self-love and knowing who you are. Because I do feel like there's a lot of upheaval, a lot of dust flowing up in the air. So it's basically telling you, like, when those things happen, like, don't, I mean, it's going to happen. You're going to get veered off for a little because it happens. It's normal. It takes a lot of years of practice and self-mastery to be so unmoved. People can say, oh, I'm so unbothered. Bullshit. Okay? They just say that, you know, but in reality, there is still something underneath there that's still like, you know. So, just, it's going to happen. You're going to get veered off a little. But try your best to bring yourself back. And this is why we have the lesson here, you know, knowing your truth, standing in your truth, being your authentic self, and not easily being veered off from that, you know, where you can come back to your self-love and putting, what's it called, like the boundaries and just coming back into yourself. I do feel like this also has to do with vocal. And you see, knowing your truth, so probably speaking your truth, standing up for yourself, expressing yourself. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if you see the self-love, the macabre is blue. It caught my eye and I automatically thought about the throat. So, and it says, you know, next to it, we have knowing your truth. So definitely, I feel like this, a lot of the stuff that's going to be going on is going to teach you, or is trying to teach you to know when to speak up. You don't have to go crazy to stick up for yourself. You know, you don't have to act in violence. You don't have to curse. You don't have to do all that theatrics, you know. Just speaking from a place of truth, your truth, is good enough. Because when you speak your truth, it is firm enough without being vulgar or without being offensive and, you know, all that jazz, you know. Just standing in your truth, that energy, that power is enough, you know. And I do feel like there's going to be times, like this whole 2 weeks, there's going to be situations where you're going to need to speak up for yourself. You don't have to go crazy. You know, just stand in your truth and be firm. You know, stick with your guns. And this is also an act of self-love. Speaking up for yourself, defending yourself when, you know, when there's opposing energies or adversity. This is how you honor yourself, by saying no. You know, and knowing your truth when, you know, by setting that boundary where you go, I don't want to do that, or no, I will not allow you to do that. That is standing in your truth. That is standing in your authenticity, because you're not allowing people to cross that line. Okay, so the lesson here with all this craziness is trying to teach you to, regardless of what is happening, all this crazy energy, to stand in your truth and to honor yourself. And everything that you've learned up to this point, especially throughout this year, with all this craziness, to apply it. Because that's where I feel like where the karmic completion is, you know, to apply what you've learned to graduate, you know, because like school, you could, and you know, spiritual career, if you think of it, you know, you can know so much stuff. Oh, I know this, I know that. But if you're not putting it to practice when you really need it, it makes no sense. You might as well just throw everything out the window. Like I always tell people, you know, it's easy to say I have faith and I believe when everything is good. But it's when the time gets really hard, if you can still genuinely say, I do believe, I do have faith, that is applying what you've learned and that feeling to the situation. I will always remember my AP biology teacher, you know, he said that is true intelligence, where you learn something and you're able to apply it to the future. That is what intelligence is. And that's what that spiritual knowledge comes into play. Because you can read a bunch of books, you can do all this stuff, but when it's time and you're just like, it renders useless, you know. So really it's telling you, put into practice what you've learned, put into practice of what you know is to be true to yourself and your self-love, and honoring your boundaries and honoring yourself. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to decision, or what you can do. Okay, so let's see, I'm going to use both as well. So what could you do to honor yourself and stand in your truth? with all this crazy, Saturn energy and the new year and all this stuff, So let's see, what can we do with this energy? Let's see. Because I actually feel like that's a better question than decision. So, but we'll see. Okay. And parenting. So I do feel like parenting yourself. I do feel like perhaps this may be issues with parents as well. And I do feel like, again, it has to do about setting those boundaries. And I do feel like this is the holidays, because now I'm thinking about it, the holidays, family, we were family, friends and all that, and it can be, like they always say, it's a very stressful time of the year, and that's because, especially if you have family that don't know boundaries and they don't understand that concept, and it's really hard to draw them. I do feel like there may be conflict, and again, when I was saying about the throat chakra, because again, this came out blue, so there may be issues with family, and just setting the boundaries. I feel like this also has to do of parenting yourself, like keeping yourself in line and just giving yourself that consolement. Because I do feel like when there's disgruntledness between parents and children, I do feel like it could affect our self-love and being confused with what we feel is the truth about ourselves, and as I say, like, parents can know you and they raised you, but there's still hidden parts of us that they're not too sure about, they really don't know about, and it's that only you do, because you hear your own thoughts, you experience your own feelings, so you know your own truths. I do feel like these issues with parents, and it could bring up issues with self-love, identity issues, like who am I fulfilling my life purpose, am I going the right direction? So they definitely want you to hold to your truth. It does look like there has to be some type of communication, and to be firm. You don't have to yell, you don't have to curse, you don't have to do all that, but knowing your truth and making a stand, that energy just shows, this is where I stand, you have to respect it, and I do feel like when parents or anybody actually understand what boundaries are, they go, oh, okay, perhaps I am overstepping, I'm being a little too brash or something, do understand that a lot of people aren't taught boundaries, and so it's hard for parents to understand what boundaries are, and especially in a generational sense, parents are always considered to be the authoritative figure, and how dare you undermine my authority, so do know that most of that is coming from that kind of programming. It's not always because they don't love you or they don't want what's best for you. It's just they have their own programming. They're human as well. Okay, they're just as human as you are. They have their own flaws, and especially if they're not aware of generational programming and trauma, it can be really difficult dealing with parents who don't know that, and trying to get through to them. But don't worry about so much about getting through to them, because I do feel like a lot of us adult kids will be like, I wish my parents would understand, and stop wishing. That is not your job. Your job is to know your truth, to stick to your truth, and to say what you feel and mean it and be firm in it. And if they like it, and as long as you're respectful, because I'm not saying disrespect parents, never. Like I said before, you don't have to curse to get your point across. You don't have to be disrespectful to stand in your truth and get your point across. You can get your point across, be firm, and that's it. And if they like it, great. If they can really see from your perspective and go like, damn, I can see how I am overstepping boundaries, or I'm not being a good parent, or I'm not being the parent that they wish they had, that is amazing. But if not, that's okay too. Most of the stuff that happens is their own stuff. They have to deal with their own demons and their own crap in the same way as you. You have to deal with your own stuff. So be more worried about your progress as a person, your spiritual progress, emotional progress, mental progress. It is now time for you to not really so much worry about what your parents do, what they know. And there's a time where we can use our parents as an excuse. There's an expiration date. Our parents are not perfect, but there comes a time where you can't use your parents as an excuse and say, well, I'm fucked up because my parents. Yeah, okay, that could be true. But it is your decision. You have to make the conscious choice to change that and to say, yes, you know, their own karmic stuff and their own trauma messed me up. But I see that and I'm going to change it and going to do better. Because if we feel as adults sure we can do better, then do better. Stop blaming your parents. It makes no sense at this point, especially if you're an adult. You can acknowledge it and say, you know, my parent did this and it really messed me up, and say, okay, I acknowledge it. Try to acknowledge it without judgment. See it for what it is, and then ask yourself, but how am I going to change it? And that's how you can parent yourself. How can you parent yourself? By doing the stuff to yourself what you wish your parents would do. And so if you wish your parents to respect boundaries, then you need to establish them. And you need to stick with them. Parent yourself. Because as an adult child already, there's no excuse anymore about, oh, my parents did this. I blame all my issues on my parents. Yes, okay. But what are you going to do about them? Or are you just going to sit there and complain? You know what I'm saying? So they want you to know your truth. Get down to the bottom of your self-love issues, your unworthy issues. And if your parents contributed to that, acknowledge it without judgment and say, okay, my parents have done things that that have really affected my feelings of self-love. But what could I do? What could I do to make myself feel loved again? And that is going to be for yourself. You have to parent yourself and give you that same nourishment, that same love, and honoring yourself. Okay? So I'm going to pull for the message of the guy. So, hey, what can we do when it comes to this self-love and knowing the truth with all this karmic stuff that's happening? And then we have be yourself. Okay? Be yourself. Know your truth. Be yourself. Do not, I feel like I heard, assimilate to what your parents think you should be, who you should be. Let them threaten you. Let them say whatever. You need to know your truth and you need to stand by it. Good or bad. Let them say whatever they want to say. Oh, you know this, whatever. Remember, whatever they say is their decision. Because it shouldn't matter. You understand what I'm saying? So you be yourself. You stand in your truth. And whatever they decide is because they choose to decide. They can't hang that over your head and you go, oh, you know, but if I would have assimilated to what they wanted me to do, this wouldn't have happened. But then at the end of the day, then it's like, where's your identity? Who are you? Where are you going? You understand what I'm saying? And unfortunately, when it comes to that, especially when it comes to parental connections, I know it's so hard because we know we love our parents, good or bad, you know. Even when we have immense amount of anger or hatred, we love them in our own way. But even with that, even though it makes it so complicated, you're an adult. And it's time to take control of who you are, what you know to be true, and stand by it, good or bad. Because if you always going to be seesawing to their own idea what you should be, you're never going to be happy. But then you can't complain either, because although they are committing the act, but you're allowing it and you're not consciously choosing to change out of it or get out of it, you can't really blame nobody. We also need to take accountability that we are allowing certain behaviors. And it's like, what are we going to do about it? So what you can do is be yourself, stand in your truth, know, and say, you know what, this is what it is. I understand you don't like it. It's totally okay. I understand that, but I'm following my true calling. I'm following myself. This is what is in most alignment with me, you know, with the spiritual career. This is my purpose. This is me. And that's it. Okay? And as I said before, you don't have to be disrespectful. You could just be straightforward and firm. Okay? So then we have, what is the outcome? Like, what should we expect with all this holiday craziness and parental and authoritative stuff happening and Saturn transitioning? So what could we expect from this outcome here? And we have, okay, well, love. So this can either go two ways. It can be loving yourself, where when you step into that that, knowing your truth and authenticity and being able to draw that line and say this is what it is, and being yourself, honoring yourself, embracing yourself, it is a form of love, your own love, loving yourself. And I feel like basically being able to applaud your own accomplishment, to overcome that stressful moment in your life, and especially when it comes to family, because I know it's hard to conquer those feelings and to do those things, especially when it's family. Friends is not so much, perhaps loved ones like a boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband, or wife. But when it comes to parents, I feel like it's the most hardest, But by you doing this, you're gonna love yourself more for it, even if it does tend to like push family members away, and you're just like, oh damn, that sucks. But deep down, you're gonna love yourself for it. So what is the outcome? Like, what message do they have? Like, what can we expect doing all this advice and following through to our truth and honoring ourselves? So what can we expect from this? And we have, see, your beliefs are right for you. And as I was saying before, whatever they think is not your problem. And it's not your job. It's not your responsibility. However they want to think, however they want to do, whatever the threats they have, that's totally their decision. You cannot take responsibility for yours and theirs. You understand? You only can take responsibility for your behavior and how you approach is, how you approach the situation, how you choose to act in the situation. That's your only sole responsibility. How they choose to receive the information or the message, how they choose to react, it's not your responsibility at all. And you need to stick to what you feel is right for you. And as I was saying, with what is most in alignment with yourself, and know your truth, being yourself, you need to stick to what you feel is right for you, because you're an adult, and that's it. You need to take control regardless of your family, your parents, friends, loved ones, spouse, whatever connections you have. You need to follow through to what is in most alignment with you. And if you don't do it, Saturn will. And I feel like that's what Saturn is doing right now. If you don't go with the flow of what is most in alignment with you, it's going to start to just start activating all this dust and chaos and all this tower moments and just craziness, It's going to start upheaving all this stuff. Because the universe waits for you and it says like, okay, I'm just going to give this person the opportunity to do those things. But then after a while, when they know that your subconscious wants it, but your consciousness is like, I'm afraid, or I don't know, like, starts the mirroring effect, and then Saturn goes, well, then I'm going to force you. Because the expression, you can either do it the nice way or the hard way. So if you're not actively doing the things that are most in alignment with your energy and with your purpose, Saturn will. Saturn's going to be like, you took too long, sorry. And it can be rough, but there's lessons there. There's the lessons of self-love and knowing yourself and your truth and being yourself, against adversary and against what others want you to be and who they think you should be, and as it says here, your beliefs are right for you. You need to stick with what is in most alignment with yourself. Okay, so that is this 2 weeks Pleiadian Starcast. I thought it was a good read. I thought it was pretty good. Not to toot my own horn, but anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you so much for sharing my content and watching my content, and for those who reached out for healings and readings, I'm so grateful. I couldn't be any more grateful. I'm almost close to the 100, so I can finally pick my own name. I will get there though. All right, so thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys after New Year's. So I want to wish everyone Merry Christmas, Happy Yuletide, all that jazz, Happy New Year. And I will see you guys in the next week, 2 weeks or so. Okay?